This video is all about transcending the ego and minimizing suffering by understanding what we call the size of the I thought. My name is Brent Phillips. I am the founder and creator of the awakening dynamic system of energy healing and higher consciousness. And we are here now with video number 6 of 7 in our series on transcending the ego. And so to get to this point, we started off by defining the ego and transcendence and giving you an overview of kind of the mental model we have of life, which explains why we struggle and suffer so much. Why do most people feel miserable a lot of the time? Why do the majority of people feel like a failure in their career, with their finances, with their family? We covered that. Check it out if you missed it. We then gave you some specific insights and action steps to get into a healthy relationship with the ego. As the saying goes, the ego is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. So we need to get in a healthy relationship to the ego. We then talked about what we call the local maximum. That was the last video, number 5, because this will really help you to release your attachment, to trust that what happens in your life really is in your best interest. There's a wonderful saying, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And even the setbacks and pain and loss in your life is ultimately there to move you forward. So check it out if you missed it. Really powerful concept. This video, we're going to talk about the I thought, and specifically how the size of your I thought gives you a great idea of where you're at in terms of your journey of consciousness. Because you may be wondering, hey Brent, how do I know if I'm transcending the ego? Here's your answer right here in this video. What exactly do I mean by the size of the I thought? It's this. Remember that we define the ego as that which defines you, that is somehow separate and distinct from everything that is not you. Simple example, this is Brent's body, right? I would say this is my body. You watching this have your own body. That's not mine. So this body would be within Brent's definition of the ego. That's me. Your body is not, and vice versa, right? To you, you go, well, this is my body, that's yours. That is what the ego is. It's what you define as being you, as opposed to what is not you. So what is the size of the I thought? Well, it's pretty simple. How much of the universe do you think of as you? That's what it is. And this is such a powerful concept because this gives you wonderful feedback on where you're at in your spiritual path. It tells you how far along you are in transcending the ego. So let me give an example. Many people in the modern world, their I thought is composed of exactly one human being. That's right, the one you see in the mirror, right? Quote, you, the man, the woman. And that's where the I thought ends. That's where many people are. Anything that is not their individual human body, mind experience is not them. However, some people start to expand their I thought. Most commonly, parents with children, though couples that are really in love, teams that are really dedicated can also do it. And what that means is you start thinking of you as more than just the human in the mirror. And so, for example, if you're like many people and your I thought is just one person, right? The man, the woman you see in the mirror, quote, you, and you think, I need to have $1 million to be happy, then once you have that $1 million, you can be happy. If you have an expanded I thought, it becomes not just about what, quote, you, the individual human needs, but also others within your I thought. The most common way the I thought expands is parents having children. Many parents love their children so much that they would sacrifice almost anything for their child to have a better life. They would be willing to say, you know what, I will suffer pain so my child doesn't have to. I will endure hardship so my child doesn't have to. That's what I mean by expanding the I thought. And so if you have a bigger I thought, and you also have the belief, I need $1 million to be happy, you're not going to stop when you have $1 million. You're also going to want your children to have it. Does that make sense? And so the size of the I thought is really powerful, because all of our greatest masters saw themselves as everyone. They had such a huge I thought that it encompassed every human on the planet, maybe beyond. As an example, most of us, if we're hungry, would go get food. And you eat the food and you're no longer hungry. Mission accomplished. Good for you, right? If your I thought only involves you, then once you are not hungry, you stop worrying about food. Who cares? If your I thought also includes, say, your children, then when you're hungry, you get yourself food. But equally important is making sure your children have food, because they're within your I thought. And so if you go, well, you know what? I'm full. I don't need food. But my kids are hungry. You're going to continue to find food, because your I thought includes them. There's an old saying that a mother can only be as happy as her most unhappy child. That's pointing us in the right direction. And personally, I believe one of the reasons the divine set up Earth with biology and mating the way it has is to give us a hint on how to move ahead in the spiritual path. In other words, I believe that nature has designed us to really, really love our children, often more than ourselves, to show us the way to higher consciousness. And so I never knew Mother Teresa, but I would imagine that when she walked through the slums of Calcutta and saw the starving children, it impacted her just as much as if she were starving. So again, if you have a small I thought, if it's just the man, woman in the mirror, once you have eaten enough, you're good. But if you see your I thought as being everyone, then you're not going to rest until everybody has enough food. Now, this is a little bit contrived, simplified example, but this is the point of it. Another example of a big I thought would be Jesus of Nazareth. One of his teachings from the New Testament is he said something like this: that which you do unto the least of my brethren, you do unto me. Wow. It's really, really powerful. What he's saying is, whatever you do to any person, a criminal, a beggar, an enemy, a slave, doesn't matter, right? That's what was meant by the least of the brethren, you do unto me. So Jesus saw everyone as him. He had a huge, gigantic I thought. And so here's something that's kind of crazy, that when we talk about the size of the ego and the size of the I thought, they are inversely proportional. In other words, if you have a big ego, you have a small I thought. If you have a small ego, you have a big I thought. And if you want to get some sense of where you're at on your path, how far you are getting in terms of transcending the ego, I want you to think about that. What is your I thought? Is it just the person in the mirror? And I'm not going to judge you for that. We're all at where we're at, right? Judging someone for the size of their I thought is like judging them for their age. If I'm trying to recruit buddies for a bowling team, I'm not going to get angry at my buddy's 3-year-old son because he's only 3 and can't bowl yet, right? It's not his fault. So in the same way that we don't want to judge ourselves for our desires and fears, I'll encourage you, don't judge yourself for others for the size of the I thought. For most of us, it's not a conscious choice. It's created by conditions beyond our direct control. Similar, I use the example of sexual attraction. We don't get to choose who we're attracted to. It'd be nice, right? Make a lot of things in life simpler. It's decided by factors beyond us. It's A lot of that would be things that happened as a teenager that you associate this with being attracted and this with not, right? Or whatever it is. Same thing with the size of the eye thought. We can't directly control that any more than we can control our age. What we can control is our relationship to it. That's why I say try to minimize your judgments. And so what I would love to hear from everyone in the comments is, who's a historical figure that you think had a big I thought? And I already gave away a couple of them, right? Mother Teresa, Jesus of Nazareth, because I had a Christian background. But I'd love to hear from everyone, especially those from other cultures, different religions and spiritual traditions. Who do you think, and I'm going to say historical figure because I don't want to get political here. Let's avoid people that are still living. And no need to argue about that, right? Who do you see as someone that had a really expansive I thought? Please share. I'm going to try to answer every comment on every video personally. And while you're down there, hit like, hit subscribe. Thank you very much. And so this kind of begs the question, is there anything we can do to expand the size of our I thought? The answer is yes. We can't directly change it, but we can indirectly influence it. And we can do this by working with the subconscious, by pursuing the path of what we call awakening. If you want to learn more, if you want to experience your own awakening, check the links in the description. I do live Healathon webinars several times a year. I want you to actually experience these processes for yourself and see what happens, because I know you're going to love it. If you're interested, hit the links. If not, skip it. It's fascinating to me that all of us can unconsciously change our I thoughts in order to find trouble and problems. And I'm saying this because I want to give you some courage, some confidence, some enthusiasm that you really can change this over time. And so one of the really interesting things I've noticed is every human seems to have a thermostat setting in their subconscious for how many problems they have, how much stress and anxiety they have in their lives. And this is what I've noticed, is most of my clients come to me for sessions because they have a particular issue in their life. I'm sick and I'm in pain. I need to get a new job and I'm broke and can't find one. I'm depressed. I have allergies, whatever it is. So most of the time I'm working with people on their problems. Every now and then I work with someone who's there for someone else, usually a child. So a mother or father says, hey, Brent, my life is good for the most part, right? Got a good job, making enough money, I'm pretty healthy, but my child has issue X, Y, and Z. And so I'm just pointing that out, that if we don't have enough problems in our own life, we then expand our I thought unconsciously until we find enough problems. So this is just to demonstrate that you can do this. But like many things I teach, this is primarily an unconscious process till you learn how it works. Then you can start to control it. And so the bigger your I thought, the closer you are to enlightenment. It's really that simple. And of course, we all have limited resources. There's that old saying, think globally, act locally. And of course, you can't feed every person in the world unless you're some kind of billionaire or something, right? Or head of a government. But certainly we can start to expand our I thought beyond the person in the mirror. And last takeaway here, if you've been on your spiritual path for a while, you probably have noticed that one of the greatest joys in life is being of service to others. Now, if you're not there yet, that's cool. No worries, right? Wherever you're at is perfect. But I grew up being a little self-centered and entitled in that way. When I was young, my goal was make a bunch of money, retire, live a good life, and don't worry about the rest of the world, not my problem. That's the mark of a big ego. What I would encourage you to do is recognize that we all have limited resources, but that spending all of them just to gratify your ego generally won't make you the happiest. That is what most people do. I saw a study that Americans spend over 90% of their discretionary income basically on doing things they want, right? Aggrandizing the ego. And that's not inherently bad. All I'm saying is you may find that instead of just pursuing what you want to do, right, making money so you can do whatever you want all the time, that's fine. But you may find that devoting some of that time, money, energy to serving others brings you more joy than spending it on yourself. That's all I'm asking you to look for. And once you experience that for yourself, this spiritual journey gets a lot easier because your I thought starts to expand, your consciousness elevates, your attachment dissolves, and you're that much closer to enlightenment. Awesome stuff, huh? We got one more video coming in this series, so stay tuned. This is Brent Michael Phillips signing off for now. And until I see you next time, please take care and namaste.